When you look at the data, I won election day. So we got 54% of the vote on election day, which was a great accomplishment. But of course, we lost in early voting. And unfortunately, it's one thing if that happens every now and then. It's just interestingly to me that happens fairly often across the country, where a conservative might win election day but lose in early voting. So, but we did win election day, ended up coming 786 votes short. So very close. 2022, you had just over 24,000 voters in the Republican primary in my district, in District 27. Almost right at 2,500 voters that voted in that Republican primary had voted in the Democrat presidential primary in 2020, 2,500. Now, that's a large number when you consider the fact that I lost the election by 786 votes. So that's a potential swing just in that number alone. The other thing we found in the data, and I can't remember the exact numbers, like 620, 640, but right over 600 voters, again, in the Republican primary, were actually bona fide Democrats, meaning that those voters had voted in 3 of the last 4 Democrat primaries. So crossover voting is a thing. It's happening in Williamson County. It's something that needs to be addressed. This division now we have in our county where one side of the Republican Party is supposed to hate and disparage the other. There's no opportunity to work together anymore. There's no drive towards unity. There's no interest in shared values. It's one thing to have disagreements, but as Republicans, we should all be willing to come to the table and hash those disagreements out. But the fact that now in Williamson County, we're supposed to be so deeply divided that we can't even share the same room and space anymore, that's ridiculous. And I think it needs to stop in our county. Well, the way to ensure that we have election security is for everyday voters, individuals, people with their own eyes have the ability to verify their own elections. Right now, some people might say, well, Gary, we have paper ballots. So what happens is we walk up to a machine, we make a selection, it spits out a piece of paper. That piece of paper has supposedly the list of names that you voted for, and then it's got a barcode. Some counties may have a QR code. The trick is that when you slide that paper into the tabulator, what's counted is what has been programmed into the barcode, not necessarily what's been printed on the piece of paper. Which means as an everyday voter, there's no verifiable paper trail by which you can go with your own eyes and verify that the vote that was cast is the actual vote that was counted. So the simple thing is, I believe that elections should be the most simple, low-tech thing in the world. Not just from a security and chain of custody standpoint, but specifically so that everyday individuals without a piece of software or third-party involvement or some computer science degree can simply verify their elections. We have to be able to do that. And right now we can't. That's a problem, huge security issue. This is one of President Trump's top agenda items. But he wants paper ballots and same-day voting. And so I'm wondering now if maybe Tennessee Republicans are willing to talk about this. But we have not been able to get that done yet in Tennessee. And, I want to see that done very badly. The measuring stick are the things we're doing in the General Assembly protecting the constitutional rights of everyday citizens? Are we limiting government? Are we spending less? But are we working to control growth? All these sorts of things that we're concerned about. And I will tell you, unfortunately, while we may be classified as a red state, a lot of those things are not happening in the General Assembly. And a lot of the things that we're running through committee that would protect things like medical freedom, that would encourage election integrity, that would really fix the things that so many people are frustrated with in our education system, all these things, unfortunately, fail in committee before they ever get a chance to be voted on on the floor. There's a lot of reasons to be concerned as to why we could potentially not be a red state in the future, and those are the things that we should address now. Lots of reasons. The lowest hanging fruit would be special interests. You know, one of the things that I've done with Tennessee Stands, we have the campaign finance data available for every legislator. So we go and curate that. So with the click of a button, you can see every contribution since they've been in office, and you can see a percentage of how much of their campaign contributions comes from special interest. What you'll note is as you climb the ranks in leadership, those percentages increase. I mean, we have Republican members right now in leadership where over 80% of their campaign contributions come from special interest groups. I would suggest to you that if more than half, I suppose, of your campaign contributions are coming from special interest groups, then perhaps your loyalties are divided. You know, could it be that maybe the main influencer in Nashville is not the voter? Could it be that the main influencer is special interest groups? I think the money says it is, and so that's a big problem. You know, something that I've put on one of my main issues is that I look to govern from a biblical worldview. And I think that doesn't only speak to Judeo-Christian values in government, but it also speaks to character. It speaks to integrity. I look right now at our General Assembly, it's a swamp. It's destitute of character to a large degree. Leadership is highly corrupt. We see that already very clearly in DC. I don't think anyone's confused that we have a DC swamp. And I'm not sure that a lot of Tennesseans realize that a lot of those same things we're frustrated with in DC, if you would be willing to spend a couple of weeks at the Capitol, those same things, we fight the same fights here at the state level. And in my opinion, when those fights, as they get more local, they become more important. I think we need to bring character back into serving in our General Assembly. And that starts with leadership. We have some men and women in there that are really, really great people. People that I think love the Lord, people that I think operate with a high degree of integrity. And so I think if we're able to make a couple of significant changes in the leadership structure, it's possible we could have a completely different General Assembly, one that I think Tennesseans would be quite proud of. I live in an area right now where a lot of people around me are very, very frustrated with development. People that have been in Williamson County for a lot longer than me, that grew up here even, that are seeing their county change at a rate that's astronomical. One of the things I talk about is a citizens first development model. What does that mean? Well, you've got citizens that are already here, that are paying into the tax base, that I think have a reasonable expectation that those tax dollars are going to be used to their advantage and to preserve their way of life. We need to put citizens first. You know, so how do we use the tax dollars that we have right now? Not just to plan for the future, which is necessary, but to make sure that we're taking care of the people that live here today. The problem only grows, and we never come to the table with solutions. And I think we should be talking about the solutions first. If I can just be honest, I'm going to take a beating. These people are not excited that I'm running. I'm going against an establishment machine that oftentimes looks to protect their own. And so it's going to be a hard race. It's going to be hard fought, but I have a great deal of confidence that we'll win. At the very least, we've proven through our last race, getting 49% of the vote, that we can win. And so I want to invite people to go to GaryHumbleForSenate.com. My campaign is 100% supported by people. That's the way it needs to be. That's the way we're committed to doing it. But here's the challenge. That means that we need people to get involved. There'll be opportunities to host meet and greets in your living room. That's my #1 priority. I will make myself available to be in every living room that will open their doors to allow me to shake a few hands. Look forward to meeting voters in Williamson County. Let's go get them in 2026.